Okay, so if you haven't been to one of my workshops before, my name is Alice, and I'm the founder of Woo Woo Company. I'm also a career astrologist and mindset coach. I am super excited to be sharing all things Saturn return, and specifically Saturn return for those with the placement in Aquarius. So your Saturn return is happening at this moment in time. So, even a little bit before, you might have been feeling stressed. Definitely now you feel it because it really shifted into Aquarius. Saturn shifted into Aquarius in March and will be here for, I think, well into kind of like March, April of next year or so. My time may not be right, but definitely for like a full year's time. So we're going to get started with a grounding meditation. I want you to close your eyes, root down through your sit bones and through your feet. Allow yourself to settle into the body. Noticing how you're feeling this evening or whenever you're listening to this recording. And we'll start with 3 cleansing breaths. So as you empty the breath out, take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. Deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. Another deep breath in through the nose and just hold it at the top. Nice, easy exhale out through the mouth. Begin to seal the lips and just breathe in and out through the nose. As you slow the breath down, notice how your body is feeling more at ease. Your mind is following as well. Taking steady breaths in and steady breaths out, just allowing yourself to downshift. Can you allow yourself to breathe in more deeply? Placing the left hand at the center of the chest, right hand on top of left, I invite you to set an intention for today's workshop. Maybe even for your own Saturn return, an intention that you would like to have. Allow this intention to just organically come into your consciousness. And then when you are ready, letting it go. Just taking a few more moments of stillness here. And as you empty the breath out here, take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. And as you're ready, gently open your eyes, coming back to the present moment and the present space. All right, let's get started. So, Saturn return 101, what is it? Okay, so your Saturn return happens in your late 20s and then again in your mid to late 50s and mid to late 80s. Now, each time this happens, it feels a little bit different. And I really think the first time is going to be the most difficult. And that's what you're experiencing right now if you are in your late 20s, born from 1991 to 1994. And this first Saturn return really is a bit of an existential crisis of you trying to figure out what it is you're meant to be doing in this lifetime. And you find yourself probably thinking, am I spending my time in the right way? Is there something else that I could be doing? And lots of questioning. And when I went through my Saturn return, I didn't really feel like anyone else felt the same way. And especially when I'd be talking to older colleagues, because I used to work at a PR firm. I was in consumer marketing for many years and I worked abroad for a long time as well. I didn't get, I really didn't get any good answers, to be honest. People said, what else are you going to do? Like, this is a great job. You're like moving very quickly, like through this company. It's a great place to be, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it just didn't feel like quite right. And maybe some of you relate to that as well. And I felt like a lot of guilt. I felt like shame, like, oh, like, why can't I just be happy like with this job? This is like the job that I've always wanted, but something just didn't feel right. And one of the most difficult parts was the fact that I wasn't able to really connect with anyone who wanted to make a big shift. So I had known some people who, started their own businesses at the time, but really it was such a big pivot for myself. Like everyone that I knew who had started something was like a little bit before. And then when I came back to the United States, that was when my Saturn return was happening. And I pretty much like lost all of my entrepreneurial friends because I was thinking, I think I want to start my own thing, but I have no idea what it's going to be. And everyone around me was working a corporate job for the most part. And the people that I knew who were entrepreneurs, like they were on the other side of the world because I lived in Shanghai. So it was a bit difficult. And so the things that you'll think about and the common things that'll happen that I've seen a lot with my clients as well is like wanting to just leave everything behind, wanting to start like completely new, moving to a new city, changing industry, starting your own business, going back to school. It really can run the gamut of things. And later on, I'll kind of speak a little bit more about like what Saturn return in Aquarius means because there's even each sign has like a different flavor, and for Aquariuses, there's definitely like a different energy as you consider, what's the next career steps for you. Okay, so that's a little bit about Saturn return. It really is for your highest good. Now, you can feel your Saturn return a little bit before, definitely during, and a little bit of after as well. So I felt like, for me, it lasted for a couple years. And it lasted longer just because it's specific to my journey, but also because I was really fighting it. I was in denial. I was being really hard on myself of like, why is this happening? I don't understand. Like just being like really irritated and really not enjoying the journey. And I would say that caused one of it to just feel like longer than it needed to. Um, so know that everything you're feeling during your Saturn return is completely, completely normal. And oftentimes, like during your Saturn return, there's definitely going to be like a big career shift, but even more so, there might be a spiritual awakening. So you starting to wondering like what your purpose is. Is there like something like a greater force out there? So just feeling like you're drawn to meditation, mindfulness, a higher power, like wanting to understand like how things work, energy, pretty much everything that I speak about, like in my podcast, on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever you found me. And there are a couple key lessons for like the different elements. So when Saturn is in an air sign, which Aquarius is, the big lesson is going to be to focus and to figure out like what you truly care about and to move forward in that direction. Okay, so this is a good segue for how to manage and navigate your Saturn return. So, one of the biggest things is to get a good routine going. So, a morning and evening routine. It's important to be consistent, not and you'll find this to be like a little bit contradictory or even a little bit ironic, but it's not to be consistent in what you do every single day, but to be consistent that you're showing up for yourself in the morning and in the evening. Because when we're going through a lot of change in our lives, and albeit you are definitely experiencing or will be experiencing that pretty soon, you need something different every single day. Okay. You might want to move your body a little bit more. Some days you might want to journal, or like read an inspirational book. There's just so many different things that you may need. And I find that with my clients, the best way to develop a morning and evening routine that is really supportive during this time is to not have too many expectations of, I'm going to do this during this time. And it has to be this, and this. So I always recommend a combination of like moving your body, quieting the mind. So whether you're taking a walk outside, meditating for a few moments, or reading something inspirational, those are a couple of different combinations I definitely recommend. Also physical activity, if you can do it, some yoga, some stretching, some running, those are going to be really great for you. Um, and to also spend a lot of time outside. So when I was going through my Saturn return, I spent so much time outside. I didn't realize. I thought I just hadn't been in like the outdoors and nature in a long time, and I just was really wanted to be outside, which was true. But being outside has a wonderful calming and grounding effect. And so taking walks outside, hiking, whatever it means to you, maybe starting a new like outdoor activity or hobby, kayaking, tennis, something that really speaks to you. Or it could just be, sitting in a garden, sitting in a park, because sometimes, I know that people don't like to be very active. Like that's just not their thing. So really listening to your intuition and what you need. To also really remember that the most important part is the journey at the end destination. I promise that through the journey of going through your Saturn return, you will start to get the answers that you are seeking. And on the other side, you'll definitely have a lot more clarity. And this clarity is going to like continue on. For some people, you might get the aha moment during your Saturn return. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's like after you're like, okay, I think I should start this type of business, or I think I need to go back to school, whatever it may be. Another really important tip I have is to find a supportive community. So other people who have gone through the same thing, and maybe it works for you to hire like a mentor or a coach to help you through this time. I definitely did that, and it was so helpful. And again, to really enjoy the process and just to surrender. And a big part of your morning and evening routines will help you to ground and anchor you, and also will help you cultivate your energy. So how you show up is going to be really important, because if like the big part of success is showing up, then how you show up matters. And oftentimes, like I remember before my Saturn return, I didn't really realize how I was showing up. I really kind of let my emotions kind of get the best of me, and I wasn't able to get into that like observer point of view. I was just really stuck in that moment in time, in my situation, in my frustration. But when you're able to expand the mind and expand your thinking and your perspective, it's going to be a lot easier. And so really just paying attention to how you feel, as well as your intuition will communicate in that way as well. So those are a couple different things that have really helped me and my clients. And so I want to take some time to journal. So I want you to write how you've been feeling, this entire year. So I'll put this in the chat so you have it. How have you been feeling this year? And if you want, you can put it into the chat as well. And then after you're done with this question, I want you to write down a morning and evening routine that you can start today/tomorrow. Okay. These will be really helpful. I'll give you a couple minutes, and if you want to drop it into the chat or if you have questions, I would love to know as well. Okay, so some examples for a morning and evening routine. I'll share what I do so it can give you some inspiration as you create yours. So when I wake up in the morning, I check in with myself and ask, like, how am I feeling today? I'll close my eyes. I'll spend some time like meditating. I'll read something inspirational. Right now, I'm reading just a couple of pages each morning, each night, depending on how I feel, of Lighter by Young Pueblo. Really love his poems and stuff. I will journal. I'll write an intention. And I really like to write intentions for trips, meetings, projects, relationships, the day, really everything, because an intention really helps me find focus. So writing intention about this workshop, that the right people are going to receive the information that they need for this workshop. It's going to be a fun workshop. You know, there's some example intentions. So you can write like stuff for the day that I will be more present. I will be feeling more grounded or inspired by everyday things in my life. Also some exercise. So I walked Miso this morning, my puppy, and then we also ran together for a little bit. And so those are a couple of like the big elements of like doing something like to clear your mind, to inspire you and to move your body to kind of just like clear the energy up. So those are a couple of different examples. You may find that you want to free write, just kind of like writing like The Artist's Way, that book, they just have you write like morning pages, just like free writing. You could water your plants in the morning, like prune your plants. Other things that can be part of your morning routine that I didn't mention is like making a cup of coffee, a latte, something nourishing for yourself. Just like the most important thing to remember about your like morning and evening routine is that it feels good. It doesn't feel like a chore, because once it feels like a chore, that means you need to have something new. And at night, I kind of like do some of the same things, but I'll read a little bit longer. I will journal about what went right during the day, what I feel grateful for, and I also kind of like sit and meditate for a little bit. You could listen to something inspiring, something relaxing. In the morning, you could also listen to some podcasts. Sometimes I'll do that as well, especially if I'm like driving somewhere. I still kind of consider that my morning routine. Oh, and I forgot to say the most important thing about your morning routine is that you don't look at your phone, you don't look at electronics, at least for a few minutes if you can. Ideally, it's for like the first 30 minutes, an hour, or a few hours, just because the phone is super, super distracting. And we all know that we're addicted to our phones. Absolutely. And so I don't even sleep with my phone in my room. I have an analog clock, and I have my iPad on airplane mode so that if I'm reading on my iPad, if I need to use it as an alarm, like messages won't come through. That's like super important. So those are some examples. Okay, I'll give you another minute or two. And if anyone has any other questions, like please drop them into the chat. Also, if you see me like moving around, it's because a mosquito is like in my apartment and it's bitten me like 6 times. So if you see me like moving around, it's because I'm trying to. I went away to get a blanket so it could cover me. I know. I hope it leaves him too. Sonia, exhausted sitting in silence in the morning and evening nature walk. Do you mean that you're tired during when you like wake up in the morning? Oh, how I've been feeling this year. Exhausted. Yes, that means you need to really come back home to yourself. A lot of times people don't realize that you're not physically exhausted, you're emotionally and mentally exhausted. You could be going into a job that you don't like. You could just be feeling like frustrated. Maybe nothing really is wrong if you look at it from an objective point of view, or if your friends or family are like, hey, everything's going fine, but you yourself are just going through a lot of internal turmoil. And so it's really important for you to cultivate your energy, and hopefully these morning and evening routines will be helpful. Okay. All right. So we're going to finish up this part of the exercise. But before I end kind of like how to really navigate your Saturn return, is looking at your moon sign is going to be very important. So you can look at your moon sign. Soon you'll be able to look at it via my website. But for now, you can go to astro-seek.com and you can find your moon sign there, or really any of the apps, Chani, CoStar, Sanctuary. And the moon sign people like don't always talk about. We always talk about the sun sign. That's like where our horoscopes come from. So the moon sign is like our inner world, how we deal with emotions, how we self-care, how we self-soothe. It's really, really important. It's how we how we make others feel as well. So my moon sign is in Capricorn. So I remember for years before I got into astrology, I like really didn't understand. I get like really weird interactions with people, like at events, like in meetings, conferences. Like I remember one of the last things that I remember someone telling me before I got into astrology, they're just like rushing into this meeting and feeling really stressed. And they're trying to figure out where to sit. And it was like this huge table. And this lady literally verbally said it out. She's like, I'm going to sit next to you. You seem really calm. And I'm just like, what? Like there's been instances when I feel like really stressed and people are like, oh, you seem like so calm. I'm literally like that duck on the water and like pedaling. But that's like Capricorn is a very grounded sign. It's an earth sign. And so people feel really safe because Capricorns are very reliable. They're very hardworking. It's also the sign of career, hence why I'm creating a career astrology website and I am a career astrologist. So haha, no surprise there. But if you look at your moon sign, you can understand like what you need to feel better. So actually, I really need to, for me to feel better, if I'm like feeling down, is to know that I am moving forward in my career, whether or not I see tangible results now. It's like I feel like I'm taking steps in the right direction, and also spending time outside. That's really important to me as well. I wish it didn't have to deal so closely around career, but if you have a moon in Capricorn, you're going to feel the same as well. Okay, let's see what else people are saying. Feeling a bit overwhelmed, lost, disconnected. Yeah. So, you know, it's totally normal to like feel these things, and I find that journaling is really helpful, and to really feel the emotion and to acknowledge it, and then you always have the power to change how you feel. Sometimes we kind of get into these like feeling loops of just like kind of like death spirals, but you can change how you feel at any time by just shifting into gratitude, shifting into love, shifting into creativity, because we can only feel one emotion at a time, and it's about training your brain every single day. And we don't teach that enough. That's like what I teach, but no one really taught me that until really recently when I sought it out. And so for you to just every time you get a thought, a feeling that you're just like, I don't really like want to feel this way, acknowledge it, process it a little bit, and then choose to shift into a different energy. And I love those routines. Free writing, meditating, hot shower and bath. Yes, it's going to be great. Um, Oh yeah, you can share your response. I would love to hear. You can, it's okay if it's like long. Okay, a
Okay.
Scorpio moon. Oh, or you can share it over audio, whichever
Oh,
you'd like.
oh, I can copy and paste it either way. Whatever's better for you.
Oh, well, you're here already, so why don't you just share?
Okay. Um, yeah, I guess when you asked those two questions, I was typing away. Um,
Yeah,
I overall have been feeling less resistant to my Saturn return.
great.
Last fall, I had a huge aha moment where I realized I may never be in this place of so much confusion, sudden events happening, shifts, etc. So instead of resisting my Saturn return, I realized to surrender to it and document the unfolding. I see it more as a pivotal time in my life than unfortunate events that are happening to me. With that in
That's
mind,
great.
yeah, I feel I have met this year with much more ease than the last. Albeit there have been moments along the way, I feel very grateful for where I am in it and overall feel I am in a balanced, centered place.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And you have a Scorpio moon, so you're definitely going to feel that new moon eclipse in Scorpio in a couple weeks. But with a Scorpio moon, I always recommend all Scorpio moons to spend time alone to recharge. It's very important, as well as really harness your emotions and be curious about why you're feeling the way that you are feeling. Spending time near water, these are all really great things, as well as kind of adding a bit of I would say like, kind of exploring the depths of like who you are is always going to be very helpful. Just a Scorpio moon just has a lot of feelings, is can be serious at times, and sort of in terms of just like it can be emotionally heavy, and sometimes people may be taken aback, but know that this is something that is very important to who you are and the way that you like require support. And so whether you process it by journaling, or talking to someone, or transmuting that energy from what you feel into a project, will also be really helpful as well, especially if it's something artistic.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
so welcome. If anyone else wants to put their moon sign in the chat, I can share a little bit about what you can do. Ooh, Aquarius moon. Aquarius moons are funny because they're like Capricorn moons. It's like kind of like, do I have feelings? I have feelings, but I would like to explain them away. And so Aquarius moons, because it's an air sign, it's good for you to write things down, to speak things. You can kind of speak to others, or kind of record a voice message, or just kind of saying things out loud to process. Aquariuses just have a lot of ideas. They want to give back. It's very humanitarian. So being of service is always going to allow you to feel really good and finding what that means for you. A Sagittarius moon loves to travel, loves to write, and is always like thinking, always like in the realm of like philosophy and belief systems. And so for a Sagittarius to kind of feel better, also they're like such a fun, optimistic sign and always kind of like the one that gets invited to parties as well. So going to a fun party, planning your next vacation, watching a documentary about like a faraway place, or going to a restaurant that allows you to be transported to the Mediterranean, to Japan or to Peru is going to be really great for you as well. Also, writing is a big part too. Capricorn moon. So you share the same placement as me. So, like I said before, lots of grounding and stops explaining your emotions and just allowing yourself to feel them because emotions really are a beautiful superpower. Like, as humans, we try to explain, we try to collect more data, but honestly, like the body and our physical being already has like such a beautiful system, and that system is just feeling based. And to understand all the different types of feelings and the nuances of feelings, because there are a lot of most communication is nonverbal, and so much is happening in the world that your brain just processes it at a subconscious, unconscious level and gives you back something that is like very easily understood, which is like a feeling of like, does this feel good? Does this feel bad? Does it feel neutral? And so I really encourage everyone to kind of explore feelings and emotions more, something that I didn't really understand until a couple of years ago, but really that also translates into energy as well. It's kind of one and the same. All right, now to the fun part. So, Saturn in Aquarius, what does that mean? So, Aquarius is a sign that is very futurist, super, super futurist. And oftentimes, like, you may feel like really different, very isolated, very alone. Like you want to do things differently, especially if you've taken a traditional job path, career path. You may find yourself like not wanting to do the same thing anymore and maybe feeling a bit confused or guilty, whatever you may be feeling. But your biggest lesson to learn is that you are very unique. You have a different way of thinking and doing and being. And so you should really embrace these moments and this part of your personality. The reason why it may be difficult for you to feel like you can really embrace your individuality and your different way of thinking and being and seeing and feeling is because like in just being a human being, like being in society, being in modern society, and we want to be accepted, and we have friends and family that may not agree with us, and sometimes we may feel like we have to agree with them or follow what they think is best for us so that we remain within the group, accepted, seen, safe, comfortable, etc. But know that you have to be true to yourself. And if you've been thinking about starting something new, if you've been wanting to like change jobs, industries, like this is all normal. And I really encourage you to do so. Aquarius is also very much so about the collective. You may be thinking about different ways to live, different ways to work, different structures, different systems. The sign of Aquarius is whether it's any of the big placements, especially in your Saturn. For Saturn, it's going to help move us forward, move society, move humanity forward, because the people who have strong placements in Aquarius are going to be reimagining the way that we do things and reimagining our world. So really, really lean into the different future that you are imagining for yourself and for others, because it always starts with you. It always starts with an idea in your mind before it gets manifested in the world. So the number one thing that you can be doing during your Saturn return to make sure that you're getting the most out of it and thriving instead of surviving is ask yourself what you can do to really support your individuality and your uniqueness, how you can shut out what everyone else is saying and thinking and what everyone else is telling you that you should be doing, and leaning into what you want, even if you don't know. I like to say that you can feel confident but uncertain. They're not like always together. They can be mutually exclusive. So you can feel confident that you're uncertain about your next steps, but confident that you'll be able to figure it out, confident that you have value, confident that you have whatever, insert like your phrase. And so again, kind of like keywords that you can kind of write down so you can remember. So uniqueness, futurist, humanitarian, always filled with ideas. So these are a couple things that you can write down. And with a Saturn in Aquarius, it's really questioning you and really forcing you to think about what is important in your life. Which communities do you care about? Which causes, which values, and are they feeling like they're aligned to what you do right now? And if not, how can you shift into alignment? A lot of people with strong Aquarius placements will also feel pulled to start their own businesses. So I know there's definitely some of you who are listening or live on this workshop that have been thinking about, like, I think I want to do my own thing, maybe a nonprofit, but I'm not really sure what that might look like. It's the reason why you may feel like, am I even the right person for the job? Yes, because like I said before, Aquarius is all about future thinking, is all about doing your own thing in your own way. So to start a new business, people forget you're not only solving for a problem by providing a service and or product, but most importantly, it's the structure of your business, how you work, how you hire, how you create things. Like, that's equally as important as the service and product that you provide. Started my own business 1.5 years ago. Yes, at the beginning of the Saturn return, kind of like at the beginning stages. Yes. And you'll find that during this time, if you have started a business, that you might be thinking like maybe changing your services or your products. There might be feeling like some big pivots as well. Or you maybe have found like your customer and your client, and you're doubling down and figuring out how you can expand and how you can grow. Questions, please drop them in the chat. I have a couple more questions for you to journal about now to help you kind of understand like what future career paths you have, which future businesses that you can start. So what do I care about? What issues, values are important to me? How can I support my different way of thinking and doing? So these are 3 questions I want you to journal about right now, and drop your questions in the chat. Okay, so I'll give you another minute or two to finish up. And if you're already done, you can drop an emoji into the chat and we can move on to a quick Q&A. All right, let's wrap the journaling up. You can always come back, and I really recommend that you come back to these questions in the next few weeks, maybe for the rest of the year as well. And so I'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have in this moment. Maybe some questions about your moon sign, or maybe what you've been going through. Can you share your experience so far in your Saturn return? Business questions, what type of business you do want to start, what type of career you should pursue, how to make that change, how to make the pivot. You can drop it into the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Okay, what's your question?
Yeah, so I shared a little bit in the chat of that I started my own business a year and a half ago, and I feel really aligned with what I'm doing. So I don't have any like hesitations about that necessarily or anything.
Okay.
But more so, I guess I also, so around a year after that, I decided to also go back to school to get another master's degree
Mm.
in clinical mental health counseling to be a therapist,
Mm.
which is very different than what I've studied in the past,
Mm-hmm.
but is something that I always wanted to do. And so I made a lot of these changes during this time,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel, especially, I feel very certain in them. But then I was wondering if there's any, like, how do I put it? Like, times where when you're in your Saturn return, and if you kind of follow those shifts and those changes, but then is there any, like, oh my gosh, what is it? Sorry, I'm like,
It's
I
okay.
want to make sure that I'm not just doing all these things because of the inertia of this time, and that
Oh, well,
after
yeah.
this time I'll still be like, yes, because I reflect back, and yeah, I've made so many changes during this time, and I think I really did surrender a lot and just was like, all right, that's what I feel like doing. Like, I looked into it. I didn't just jump boat, or I had heard of it, but like, yeah, I guess both of them, now that I'm thinking out loud, both of them I definitely had inclinations previously and everything, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I know the Saturn return is ending. I think it's supposed to be in March of next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait, what if that period ends? And I'm like, wait, I did all these like wild things during this time, and like, what's wrong with me or something?
So the big thing to remember, I don't know if you caught that, because I think maybe you came in like a little bit later.
Okay.
is the process. It's about the journey. So anything you experience during this time is for your highest good. And to go through the process of changing and discovering and uncovering allows you to feel more certain on the other side. So we're constantly evolving. We actually don't talk enough about how we are constantly growing and evolving, how our what we desire changes, the type of work that we want to do. And so it's very normal to want to change things and for you to eventually figure out like, okay, I think I've come to a point that I really want to focus, because with air signs it is really going to be about focus as well, but at the same time you have to kind of figure out what you want and what you don't want to get to that point. And then you'll kind of get like the message, and your intuition will be like, okay, just focus on this, just focus on this for the time being. So it's never going to go to waste. It'll all come together, whether now or like at a future time. So don't worry too much about that. And I always have to remind myself to not be in the energy of worry and to be in the energy of creation. And so it looks like you're doing a lot of different things, creating your business, going back to school. There's a lot of activity there. So just if you're having fun, just really focus on like the feeling. If you're having fun, know that where you are, what you're doing is going to lead you and put you into the right direction.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have questions? I haven't got any questions. Probably just lots of things to like ponder about.
Hi. So I don't
Hi.
have a question, but I know that I would like to hear more about
Yeah.
like what this time means for me and my sign. But I guess I don't know how to pose a question.
Oh, so oh, you probably came in later. I remember
Yeah.
you came in later, and so I already shared a lot about Saturn in Aquarius, so I'd recommend you go back and just listen to the replay.
Okay, for sure.
Because I shared a lot of information about like what to expect, and specifically like within the sign of Aquarius, how to navigate during this time, all of that. Any other questions other than that? No? Okay. All right. So that's all I have for you today. If you do have more specific questions about your Saturn return, and you want more information about next steps in your career, I really highly recommend that you book a career astrology reading, because I blend together many different parts of your chart. So I look at your sun, moon, and rising. I look at your like north node, south node. I look at a lot of different things to piece them all together to tell you the type of business you should start, the type of career moves you need to make, whether or not you're going to start your own thing or just look for another job, going back to school, kind of like the potential challenges that you will face in your career, what innate skills you have, what jobs that are going to be easy for you but unfulfilling, and which jobs are going to really light you up, and really kind of giving you a diagnosis of like what the situation is that like right now, what's getting in the way, and what you can do to move forward and also build momentum. So I'll drop the 2 ways you can do the reading like into the chat. And then I will also email you as well so that you have it. So there's 2. There is, hold on, it's not copying and pasting correctly. So I have one that is a live career astrology reading. And this live reading is 45 minutes. You can ask all your questions. It's a really interactive time. I don't know why this isn't pasting correctly, but I'll just email it to you. And then the other one is a pre-recorded reading that is for about like 15 minutes or so, and you'll get lots of insights, but you just can't ask any questions because it's pre-recorded. But I find that it's also really wonderful to kind of listen and process for those people who have like specific questions that you can leave, like when you're checking out in the notes section. And then for the 45-minute ones, like people who kind of like really want like specific details, love to ask questions, and like want that back and forth and want feedback, whether it's like, okay, I've like looked at a couple jobs, or I'm looking at a couple business ideas. This is like a really good way to have that back and forth and that engagement. Okay, well, Saturn return isn't always easy, but I know that you can make it through. I really believe in you. I'm on the other side, and I know that you will be on the other side soon as well. So keep me posted on how it goes for you. And I'm super excited to hear about all the different things that will happen and all the insights that you'll get. And remember to figure out your morning and evening routine. And for those who came late to this workshop, I'll send the replay out so you can kind of listen and go through the other exercises that we have as well. And stay in touch. Okay. Have a great evening or have a great day whenever you're listening to the replay. And I will see you at the next workshop or at a reading or on Instagram. Okay. Bye. You're so welcome.